Thanks, Jerry. Thanks everyone for being here. Thanks to Stu and Jackson and the Vertical Events team for what I think is an outstanding event. It's a pleasure to be up here and presenting the copper and gold story in Mount Isa. For anyone that's new to Hammer Metals, have a look at what we've got. We've built a dominant position in the Mount Isa region. I think Australia's hottest copper exploration district, and we've built an enviable position of some 2,600 square kilometres there. To put that into perspective, anyone from Perth, jump on the freeway, Yanship, drive down to Mandurah, go to the coast and go about 15 kilometres inland, and that is the size of the tenure package that we have in Mount Isa that we're exploring for copper. There's been a number of copper discoveries in this region in the past 12 months, including our own. We have a team that have made world-class mineral discoveries before, and we're committed to doing the same. The thing I will draw your attention to, we've got a bit of a head start. We've got some 440,000 tonnes of copper equivalent JORC resources already, and that's growing, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. In terms of where we sit, we have a market capitalisation of circa $55 to $60 million. We have $2.6 million in cash at the end of December. We have a tax refund coming in of some $1 million, so we're funded for our upcoming activities. The board and management together hold 13% of the company, and the other top 20 shareholders account for roughly the other 37 to 39% of the top 50. Together, we've all been involved in this for some time, and we're all committed to making sizable discovery and moving the company from copper explorer to copper developer. In terms of myself, just for a bit of background, for 5 years I worked for Sandfire Resources looking for copper development opportunities around the globe, and a couple of things I can pass on. One, there aren't many. So there is a real shortage of copper development opportunities around the world, and when you start looking for copper development opportunities, there are three things in my mind that you want to have. You want a company that's got a district scale potential and district size potential, and you can see where we sit here surrounded by tier 1 and tier 2 deposits in the Mount Isa region. You know, names you've heard of before: Mount Isa, George Fisher, Ernest Henry, Cannington. We're smack bang in the middle of it in an area that's been forgotten about for decades and is undergoing some sort of renaissance at the moment. So you want that district position. The other thing you want to have, if you want to attract the attention of a major or a mid-tier copper producer, you want to have a project that can be developed. With 440,000 tonnes of copper equivalent metal, we're well on our way there. Anyone that's heard me speak before, you know, my numbers around this area, I think you need 600,000 tonnes of copper equivalent metal within your portfolio to have a development scenario on your hands to give yourself at least 10 years of production at 30,000 tonnes per annum. I think Hammer is well on its way to achieving that. In particular in the region, I think with the neighbouring success that we've seen, I think this region has that inventory to have a standalone development scenario through here. So it's going to be really interesting to watch that unfold. And the third thing I think any copper developer wants to see is they want to see a 20 to 30 year mine life opportunity. And this district has that potential. This year, Mount Isa celebrates its 100th year in operation. So again, we're treading a path that's well trodden before, albeit in an area that's been forgotten about and hasn't been explored for some time. Our 440,000 tonnes of copper equivalent metal predominantly comes from our Kelman deposit, and our Kelman deposit has been around for the best part of 15 years. It's really interesting when you start looking at it. We really turned our mind to it about 14 months ago. You can see the zones in purple on the screen. The zones in purple are unclassified material that sat outside of our resource calculation but sat there as potential to add straight into our resource. Last year we embarked on a program where we drilled those zones at fairly shallow depths. You can see a pit there around it, tonnes that would be brought out in an open pit scenario. We did some drilling and we've proved up mineralisation in these zones. So we'll be able to put these zones straight into a JORC resource, as we're doing at the moment. We're updating that JORC resource. I expect it out to be the end of Q1, Q2 this year. I should say the start of Q2 this year. And in terms of what we're looking at doing there, not only will we put these tonnes into it, but we'll also refresh the commodity prices that this analysis is done on. And this is a real opportunity for this deposit. The last time the resource was done here, the copper price used in that resource calculation was US $4,650 a tonne. So now trading at near on $9,000 a tonne, you know, there's a double the price for this resource, and we're looking at redoing the resource here. Not only is the copper price inflated, but the molybdenum price, which comprises approximately 40% of the revenue out of this project, the molybdenum price at the time was in the mid $20,000 per tonne. Everyone's talking about rare earths, everyone's talking about lithium, no one's talking about molybdenum. Molybdenum this year, prices are up 100%. 100% in just 6 weeks. Kelman is the world's third highest grade undeveloped molybdenum project. The other one is in this region as well. It's owned by the Chinese. The second project is based in China. The third one is in a listed entity. So if anyone wants to do some research on molybdenum and is looking for exposure to a molybdenum project, I'd encourage you to have a good look at this particular project. In terms of what did we do in that drilling and what did that drilling hit, we put these results out on Monday and, you know, we've traded pretty flat this week, but when you start looking at the headline numbers of what we actually intercepted, you know, 89 metres at 1.74% copper equivalent's a pretty good intercept. 24 metres at 5.1% within that interval, I think is pretty outstanding. 107 metres in another hole there at near on 1% copper equivalent, all within open pittable material, will add to the deposit and the economics of the deposit. Whilst we've been exploring, we've been doing some work around Kelman, we've also been doing some technical work around ore sorting and the potential to more efficiently pull these resources out of the ground. And that's something we've done during the year. We had some positive results from ore sorting test work. We're doing some more as we speak, all in the aim of improving the economics and getting ourselves to put this project through a study. In terms of that extension to the north, not only are we extending it to the north, but you can also see another lens of mineralisation in the red there. That lens of mineralisation exists to the south of the deposit. It didn't exist to the north. It hadn't been tested. It hadn't been drilled. You can see our intercepts there, nice broad intercepts through those zones, again adding more material to the Kelman deposit. Kelman gets me excited because it's a missed opportunity and it's a ready-made asset within our portfolio, easily to be valued and ready there to go to the next stage of development. But, you know, the passion of Hammer and the team at Hammer is mineral discovery. They've got a firm record of doing so. Ziggy and Russell with the Gruyere deposit, we all know how that played out for Gold Road. The team have got many years of experience in Mount Isa. We're committed to trying to replicate that success in a copper setting. And just over the last 12 months, we've tested in excess of 15 different targets. A lot of these targets, you know, if you have a look in the brackets there, you'll see how many holes have been drilled at each of these targets. Mineral systems often found at hole 25, hole 30, hole 40, hole 50. Just over the last year, we've got 6 different prospects there that have all got less than 15 drill holes in them with some pretty good intercepts. Ajax, I was up here last year talking about Ajax. We've now followed that up. Our best hole there, 11 metres at 5%, just highlights the exceptional exploration potential within the Mount Isa district and within our portfolio. The other thing I'll mention is these targets actually span roughly 40 kilometres of our tenure. So if you think about that, we're finding copper across that entire 40-kilometre stretch. This is a district play, it is a district opportunity, and one day will be developed. At South Hope, we've only got 4 holes there. We're 600 metres away from Carnaby's Mount Hope deposit. The 4 holes that we put in there, 25 metres at 2.4% copper. We have an EM target there that we're chasing, and we're about to start drilling at the end of February. At Mascot and Mascot Junction, approximately 5 kilometres to the east of the Mount Hope area, we've put a single hole in at Mascot, 6 metres at 3.7% copper with some associated gold. Fantastic start to that particular prospect. And then Mascot Junction, 6 metres at 2%. The interesting part about Mascot Junction, it was actually a hole that was drilled away from the old workings there that made that intercept, which brings another zone of prospectivity into the equation, that target. And just last week, we put out our results at the end of last year, the end of the drilling program. As the rig was leaving, we had a target sitting to the north of the highway in Cloncurry, in Mount Isa, in between Mount Isa and Cloncurry. We sent the drill rig there just before Christmas. We drilled a 180-metre hole there underneath an old deposit at Hardway and 30 metres at 1.1% for the first hole into that system. The nearest drilling to the north is 100 metres away, which was outside of an old working there, and then 500 metres to the south. And when I show you the geochemistry, I think there's a fair bit of potential there. The interesting bit about Hardway, and it's caught us a little bit by surprise, is there's actually some rare earth mineralisation there. You know, the grades at the moment are interesting. The mineralisation is quite unique in that it's the heavy rare earths. We're still trying to understand it. For the presentation, I'm still trying to learn how to pronounce some of these elements. But, you know, it's an interesting geological system and it is a little bit different to what we've typically seen up there. When you have a look, I'll just draw your attention to the drill hole that we put in. You can see here underneath these old workings, and people are going to ask me, well, you're just drilling underneath old workings, what's going on? Those old workings sat in a little mining lease that sat there for the best part of 3 decades. and relatively small scale operations came in and they took out some reasonable grade ore. The records suggest it was 5%. But when they have these mining leases, it's typically a small scale operation. They don't do any exploration and they don't actually drill these targets. What can be done is a neighbouring exploration tenure. So you can see a single drill hole here to the north, 100 metres away, and some to the south, 500 metres away. They're the holes that can get drilled at the time. The actual main workings can never get drilled. So we're looking at a system here that hasn't been tested over 600 metres. You can see the copper soil anomaly here. Stretches for that full 600 metres. You can see the workings on the screen, very similar to what we've seen at Mount Hope, and we've seen the results that Carnaby have achieved. We'll come in and we're going to drill this as part of our drilling program that commences at the end of this month. So it's fair to say we have quite a few targets to work through. The Mount Hope region, everyone's familiar with the Carnaby results out of this little red mining lease that you can see here. There is a dispute. I'd encourage everyone to read the respective announcements about that dispute. In terms of our tenure here though, the tenure you can see, the lighter colours is 100% hammer owned. Our South Hope prospect is just around here, around 500-600 metres south of the Mount Hope pit. We have a pretty interesting position in the area. And I spoke about the intercepts before, but Mascot and Mascot Junction sit out here, approximately 5 kilometres to the east there. So we have good tenure through this region. As we've seen, there's some fantastic results through this region. And we only started working down here approximately 3 to 4 months ago. So again, we'll further extend our drilling in this area. We'll continue to work this area up, but I think offers tremendous upside for our shareholders. There's South Hope. I mentioned there the 25 metres at 2.4%. There's a downhole EM anomaly there that we need to follow up and drill, and we will drill that as part of the upcoming program, but very early days at this prospect. I'm sure everyone's spoken about a lithium project and potential in our portfolio, but our Yandal package is predominantly gold, and we have spent time up there looking for gold. It's been not a priority for the company or a focus sat here in Western Australia. Not really loved for the last 12 months, but we did do a soil survey about this time last year. We included lithium at the last minute on that soil survey. We came back with some lithium anomalies, and what we found was a couple of positive anomalies, and we went up and we did some field work, and like many places, identified some pegmatites. The area that we found the pegmatites is really interesting. You have Bellevue here, and we haven't even updated our map to show you where Kathleen Valley is, but Kathleen Valley just sits just north here. Big granite system, the Kathleen Valley granite. If you follow that granite system to the other side of the granite, it's approximately 40 metres across and actually comes up against our portfolio at North Aurelia. North Aurelia we've chased as a gold target for some time. We identified the pegmatites a few hundred metres to the west of where we'd been drilling, and we went in and we had a look at the downhole geochemistry. So when we've drilled here for gold, we've only analysed for gold over 4 metre intervals. At the bottom of the hole though, we have completed a full 4-acid digest and analysed for a broad suite of minerals. And what we've found at the bottom of these holes is that we have highly anomalous levels of lithium from 50 to 300 ppm. We've gone through, we've looked through the database, we've noted where we've logged pegmatites in the drilling but haven't sampled and haven't tested them. The pegmatites that we've identified on surface and sitting out to the east of where this drilling has been done have the right mineral composition and the right, I learned something from Ian earlier, it has the right chemistry to be the right part of the granite system. So they are fractionated granites here, the pegmatites look right, and there's some lithium anomalies. So we'll do an air core program here, most likely in Q2 this year, and follow this up. It isn't a priority for us, but I think geologically it's very interesting. Looking on the other side of a granite that hasn't been tested or explored, where you've got a world-class lithium deposit 40 kilometres away, I think makes some sense. What's coming up? I mentioned those drilling programs coming up. I'm excited about the resource upgrade for Kelman. I think that could be a real differentiator for the company and make a significant difference as we look to advance from explorer to developer. We still have targets in Mount Isa that I haven't spoken to today. They're large-scale IOCG targets and well suited to a potential JV moving forward. There's lots of work to be done around that. We have new and exciting and emerging targets within the portfolio. We're moving them along as rapidly as we did those targets last year. So not only will we test the targets that we have, we'll look to build on them this year and prove the potential within the Mount Isa copper province. I didn't get a chance to touch on our JV. Don't just take my word for it. We've got JVs with Glencore and also Sumitomo Metal Mining over some of our exploration project areas. They're as excited by the region as we are, and we're committed to building a copper company. Any questions, come and see me at the booth, and thanks for your time today.